Hello, Child here. Calls me Child, Dusty Rose. Hope you're having a good year. So I'm gonna cover a few things. First of all, I apologize. You may have noticed from time to time I accidentally leave comments on. I'm the sort of person who kind of gets distracted when there's rote action being taken. And for me, uploading is kind of become a rote action. It's like click here, copy that, click here. So sometimes I'll just forget to turn off the comments. I catch that fairly quickly because somebody catches that fairly quickly and turn it back off. I realize there's a lot of new people. Maybe not everybody is aware of why the comments are off, so I'm just gonna go over it again real quick. First reason is because I have a bit of a social media validation addiction. I'm actually trying not to sink too far down that hole, but I also like doing this. So the compromise to me is I turn off comments, which means I turn off both the good and the bad, both together. Another reason, as I was reminded very recently when I did forget to turn comments off, is sometimes people like to debate me as if I am the author, and I'm really not here for that. I'm not here for a fight. I'm really not interested. And if you don't like what the book has to say, you can go and not read it. If you had the book in real life, you could close it and put it down. Or you could go and leave a comment on the Amazon review where the author may or may not actually see it. I'm not the author of any of these books. These books just happened to mean a lot to me for one reason or another, and I've explained those reasons in the about video for each of these books. Like, why did I pick this book? Why is it important to me? What did it do for me? What is it doing for me? The sad truth is that more often than not, in comment sections in general, things just evolve so fast, and I'm just not interested. I'd like to share this, and if you'd like to be a part of it, subscribe. And if you don't, then don't bother. But I am not going to just open the floodgates and say, go ahead and tear each other apart and fight me. And why? I personally get enjoyment from reading these books somewhere where they're going to get a little more exposure than maybe they did before, and maybe they're already enough exposure, I don't know, but it was still important to me. I mean, the truth is, I would just love it if most of my family would read these books. I'm happy if any other people also read and engage with these books. Point is, I'm still not opening comments, except for very specific videos where I'm asking you a question. I will say in those videos that, hey, I'm opening comments, but aside from that, no. If it's on, it's a mistake. So in one of those moments where I forgot to turn off comments, I actually got an interesting suggestion, which is that I should get a Substack for this so that people could get notified every time I upload a video. I thought about it. I do appreciate the thought, but I don't really want to manage one more thing. If you feel like my videos are kind of getting lost in the soup and you want to get notified about them more aggressively, YouTube actually does have a function for that. It won't send it to your email. There might be a setting for that if you look. I'm not sure. But if you go to where the drop down is that says subscribed and you open up and you look at your options, there is a bell there that says all, and what that means is it's going to start popping up notifications in like that red bubble up at the top whenever I have a new video that I release. So if you want to get notified more, I'd suggest doing that. I don't want to manage you one more thing. I have a blog. I don't post each release up there. I do kind of post the list of videos that I have read, and I post my own thoughts and all of that. And then of course that blog now has a YouTube channel of mine connected to it where I read the blogs off. So, and I'll include links to those below. But I think that's what I'm going to keep it at for now. Thank you though. It's a bit of a tangent, but I realize that a lot of the books that I pick, they might seem like they contradict each other. Like even right now, reading The Body Keeps the Score right alongside Defeating Dark Angels is like, what are those two? You put them head to head and they're just completely contradictory, and I feel like maybe that's a feel for a lot of the books, but I don't ever see it that way, honestly, partly because I don't take the totality of every book as gospel, word for word for word for word. Like, yes, there are parts of Defeating Dark Angels where I'm like, I'm not totally sure about that, and that seems a bit too strict, and there are parts of Dumbing Us Down where I'm like, well, maybe that could be actually, that thing you're criticizing could actually be useful in this setting, etc., etc. Okay, so there's the particulars, which sometimes I'm not going to agree with a particular that I'm reading, but I'm not going to sit down and start saying which those are, because then that gets me back into the territory of opening up for like a fight. You know, I don't want to go there. So I'm just going to read as the author wrote. But even though not all the particulars of these books will mesh, they won't mesh like this. But I feel like most of the books I read, they actually mesh like this. I feel like they're all puzzle pieces, and that a lot of them actually are forming a picture, and that they do have overlapping, they do work together actually in certain ways. I honestly see Body Keeps the Score and Defeating Dark. I didn't do this on purpose, but I see those two books as actually having interesting overlap. So again, these are books I picked because most of these were either instrumental in radically changing my worldview in some way, or it had a significantly practical impact on my life, or it helped me put words into what was previously a vaguely conceptualized, unknown feeling. So speaking of which, I have already decided on the next two books. I know that previously I said I know what the next book is, and then it just got bumped. That's gonna happen from time to time if I get just completely taken by storm over a book, which I did, and I've been trying actually to bolt through this book as fast as I can. I partly feel guilty that I didn't go into False Alarm like I said I would. Partly I desperately want my family to read this book, but I'm gonna get through it as fast as I can. And then I am going to read False Alarm. I'm planning on wrapping up The Body Keeps the Score and Defeating Dark Angels probably around the same time, so then I'll just pick up two new books, and it's going to be False Alarm, which I already have on the e-reader, and then I am actually going to read another book by Charles H. Kraft, which feels like it has a little overlap with Defeating Dark Angels, but it feels very much like a support and a companion, like an expansion of the idea. It's called I Give You Authority, and I'll talk more about that in the About video. So those are probably going to be the next two books, most likely. And in other happy news, I reached the minimum fantasy word count for the Ramara Phenomenon, my original novel. I'm excited. It's not done yet, but like 75,000 words is like, I think, the minimum for a fantasy novel, and I reached 75,000 words. So I'm excited. Oh yeah, and if you see me with gloves for a while, that's gonna be interesting. I hope I can still turn pages. I'm gonna be trying to give up picking at my face and pulling at my hair. So you might see me with gloves more often. I think that's it. Thanks for being here. Those of you who stick around and like being here and like what I do, appreciate you. I realize I put tape over all your mouths, but I really do appreciate that you stay. Right, one more update. As of right now, our estimate about leaving for Japan is going to be sometime between August and December. One of the things that's going to happen is the hat shop is going to completely shut down once I go to Japan. I just can't be trying to ship at that point. So if you were ever interested in any of the hats, I'll leave a link again to my little coffee shop below. I can only guarantee it open up to August, and sometime between August and December when we leave, I have to shut it down. And even if I reopen it, it will be for Japan, only at that point. Okay, I do think that's it. I hope you're having a fantastic year. I'm sure having an interesting one so far. Have a gentle day and a gentle rest of your week. I hope you have a really peaceful week. See you around.